Good evening, family, and welcome as we celebrate 50 years of Whiting family reunions. There are so many wonderful things we remember about our reunions. It's kind of strange, though. Over the years, these memories collide, and it becomes difficult to associate any one of them with any particular reunion. But, thanks to histories and photographs, we have assembled a remarkable presentation, recapturing the essence of the last 50 years of reunions. Now, sit back, breathe in the nostalgia. Don't worry if the faces are unfamiliar, the dates are unknown. Just enjoy an overview of happy times with good family. Come with us now as we turn back the years, starting with that first reunion in 1948. But wait, we must first begin with the groundwork laid before. It all began long ago, when Grandpa Edwin Marion Whiting first came to the homestead before he was married. He came to work on a sawmill which the church had established before St. John's was settled by the Mormons. This sawmill was discontinued, but later, Grandpa Whiting decided that he would build another sawmill in that general location and would homestead where the original sawmill had been. Thank you, Grandpa and Grandma, for providing our heritage and this land, the site of our reunions. A small cabin with an attic where little ones slept was later constructed. These children seemed to set the standard for what would become known as homestead babies or a homestead child. These children wore the powder-fine volcanic silt, a little sunburn, and a little pine gum, much like anyone else who visits the homestead. The potatoes in this picture remind us that farming once took place here. And all of these pictures, they remind us of great times gone by, even as we are now creating new memories. The first reunion in 1948 set precedents for all future reunions, and the family traditions have been tenaciously held on to. Numbered among the successes of that first and continuing reunions are delicious meals, ball games, beanie flipper contests, horseshoe tournaments, children's races. And many, many wonderful programs. Grandma Anna Maria Isaacson Whiting's birthday, which was June 26, 1863, was frequently celebrated at the reunions. The half-track was at the first reunion too. The uncles purchased the half-track from the Army. The adrenaline still rushes as thoughts of going straight up or straight down Trigo are recalled. Even on the tamer rides in this vehicle and in the Playboy, sizable trees were run over, small rodents exterminated, and adventure abounded. Indeed, some of these harrowing rides provided the basis for irrational fears found in many of our family members today. Rodeos were also a major part of the program for those first reunions. Remember the old corral, the calf rides, the burros and the horses? Ruth Brown wrote, "I witnessed the never-to-be-forgotten side of Uncle Albert Brown in his Indian suit riding a bucking steer, and Uncle Eddie's majestic figure dressed in his Western outfit." Do any of you remember the bear hunt? 40 saddles and as many horses were gathered with hired cowboys and hunting dogs. No bear was treed, but happy hunters returned after a few memorable hours. Our fun reunions had immediate undying success because the major plans revolved around the interests and involvement of the children and teenagers. Through this effort, the family achieved contentment for everyone. Happy children are the heart of this family and the inspiration for many wonderful occasions. A heritage passed on to us from Grandpa Whiting is the love and understanding he had for young people. Perhaps this is one reason our reunions are so full of a combination of excitement and nostalgia. Even then, as now, visiting abounded. The good feelings were evidence that no one was very concerned about his or her own pleasure, but more for the happiness of the group. If you've ever put your hand over the pipe poking up from the ground by the recreation hall and wondered why the airflow switches from being a vacuum to air blowing out, we'll clear up the mystery. You see, a cave was discovered underneath the pipe when, in the early 1950s, an attempt was made to dig a well there. We didn't reach water, just thin air. In 1953, the recreation hall became a reality. Many volunteers gave generously of their time and labor, and the uncles provided the materials for the project. After the recreation hall was built, activities expanded to bigger and better programs. And it became the site for our dances, and church meetings were then held inside. Here, we see family members gathering outside after church. In 1956, Grandma's Isaacson family was invited to participate. When you have company, you want everything especially nice. Efforts were renewed and activities added in preparation for a wonderful reunion filled with shared memories of parents and grandparents. Our Isaacson relatives came to know of the butterflies we feel as we near the homestead. Sometimes we'll spot beautiful antelope. And what a thrill it is to see our Sierra Trigo looming up ahead. As we drive into camp, there's always a welcoming party. Who greets us with genuine enthusiasm. And it feels so good. The next step is to find your spot, which will become home for the next few days. Some will bring campers, others tents. Remember 1948, when the uncles constructed wooden frames with army tent roofs so that each family would have their own place? In addition to these, there were a few sleeping cabins and some overcrowded houses. You can see that things really haven't changed that much. Ruth Brown wrote, "We awakened to the sound of an old-fashioned Western dinner bell calling us to breakfast. We could smell the bacon, but knew we wouldn't be the first of the long procession as dozens of happy voices filled the air. Pancakes were being cooked on the grill, built by Uncle Ernest and Uncle Art. We filled our plates and ate with family members on long white picnic tables under the pines. At least 3 new events were added to those tried and loved from previous reunions. The first was a trip to Greens Peak. Ruth wrote, "That trip was a real event. The uncles drove us in pickups to the top of the mountain. And we walked down through the ferns, wildflowers, and the wonderful pines. The scenery was awe-inspiring. Too soon, we were at the bottom, where the cars were waiting. The second event was a quality dance band, put together by talented cousins. This group was so good, and the idea so novel, that it seemed as if everyone wanted to dance. Dancing has remained a major event at our reunions. Even though the orchestra size has diminished, talented Linda Startup, with her accordivox, has helped this event to continue. She has even played for the children's dances. The third event, and perhaps the most exciting and memorable event of reunion history, was the tire rolling competition. Ruth continues. She says, "Every able-bodied man, woman, and child went up Sierra Trigo, where each was given a tire. One by one, the tires were aimed at the target in the valley far below. It was great sport to watch the tires bump a rock or a stump, veer from a straight course, sail over a fence, and roll on and on. Each tire was followed by laughing eyes, and guesses were made as to which would come nearest the target. It was hard to tell who loved this contest the best, the young or the old. It is rumored that some do a good deal of practicing for the flipper contest, which Kay Berry started in 1948. Even though the flipper construction is no longer a handle made from the fork of a tree, with rubber strips from a discarded inner tube, the flipper and the contest have remained pretty much the same. This contest was such a hit in 1948 that better targets, ribbons, and trophies are about the only improvements made in the following years. A keen spirit of competition is always evident as family members take turns shooting marbles at a target. The lines become shorter and shorter as contestants are eliminated, and finally, winners emerge. Also ongoing throughout the reunions have been Jack Cooper's horseshoe tournaments. Basketball tournaments have more recently been added. We even had horse races. The trophies for each event are hard-earned and honestly merited. At the reunions, delicious meals and good conversation are the rule, with never an exception remembered. Even standing in line gave us an opportunity to catch up with those we know. Or become acquainted with others we may not. Many of us recall the delicious barbecues. Hands have labored long and hard over the years to prepare scrumptious feasts. In 1960, we had a luau and wore Hawaiian dress and even leis. Memories of sizzling steaks still make our mouths water. And Frank's startup wasn't outdone by anyone when he provided 3 years of tasty catered meals. The children's programs are long remembered by enthusiastic audiences and eager participants. Those who grew up with the reunions fondly recall being in both positions. What a special opportunity it is to share a performance. Dramas are a vital part of the reunions. In pioneer days, Grandpa put on the plays for the community, and all the family took parts. This picture is the actual handbill used to advertise The Two Orphans when it was put on at the Orpheum Theater in Phoenix. Others of Grandpa Edwin Marion Whiting's productions included Oliver Twist, Wenlock of Wenlock, East Lynne, 10 Nights in a Barroom, A White Lie, The Octoon, Under Two Flags, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Hazel Kirk, Way Downcast, Fisherman's Luck, Because I Love You, Crazy Maud, Divorce Question, The Train Tomorrow, From Sumter to Appomattox, and Bound by an Oath. Many of these productions have been reenacted at the reunions. One of the plays, which has been repeated several times, is Box and Cox. Some of our favorites are Who Shot the Hole in My Sombrero, which was first performed by the original Whiting sisters. Cy Hubbard was Uncle Ernest's. St. Peter at the Gate was Uncle Eddie's. And the 10-cent can of paint was Uncle Art's. Rockin' Alone in an Old Rockin' Chair became a family favorite. Music and drama through the years have made us laugh, made us cry, and touched our hearts. In 1980, Jay Whiting was in charge of the reunion. He asked Joyce L. Cooper to condense the original script of The Two Orphans to a 1-hour production. Many cousins became fast friends as a combined effort from Aunt Elda's, Uncle Ernest's, Uncle Ralph's, and Uncle Art's family members reenacted Grandpa's play. The costumes were wonderful and helped make this production especially enjoyable. All seem to agree that our events build up to Sunday, the most perfect day of all. Early morning meetings are held for the youth. A beautiful choir is assembled and practice held. Faces are washed, hair smoothed, and we gather to express spoken and heart-rendered thanks and testimony. We are more able to express our love and later our goodbyes, as Heavenly Father unites us in the bonds of an eternal family. Uncle Ralph and his sons invited the family to hold the 1966 reunion on their ranch near Grand Junction, Colorado. Early in July, about 200 family members enjoyed the green fields, clear mountain air, and peaceful surroundings of this big ranch. The guests enjoyed the gracious generosity of Uncle Ralph's family. Superb meals, a This Is Your Life program of Uncle Ralph and Aunt Nell, and unlimited warmth stand out as highlights of this occasion. Netta Brown originally tied a rope swing to a large tree which stood a little up the base of Sierra Trigo. It's a landmark filled with memories of daring and bravery. Many thrills, bumps, and a few broken bones have resulted from our activities there. We all miss the swing and wish we could turn back the clock. Other events which stand out in memory of reunions past include teenage activities, such as firesides, testimony meetings, and watermelon busts. We've enjoyed hikes up Trigo, ghost stories, and visits that went well into the night. No wonder the teenagers formed such fast bonds. Each child anticipated the time that they could participate in the exclusive teenage activities. In 1970, an interesting bit of family history was told by Arthur C. Whiting, who explained the Whiting Missionary Fund left by Grandma Anna Maria Isaacson Whiting. Many young people have had the opportunity to serve as missionaries through this fund. All who've benefited from this fund, and all who think about it, remember how important it was to Grandma to help share the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ. These feelings of gratitude were passed from her mother, Martha, who was forever impressed by the love and caring of two elders who would leave their homes in America to teach the Danish, whom they didn't even know, about the restoration of the only true church in these latter days. In the early 1970s, the families began to realize that a fee needed to be assessed to family members if the reunions were to be able to continue. Frequently throughout the reunion, we were urged to take care of this responsibility. At the following reunion, we saw snow cone and cotton candy machines operating, and Playboy rides going on as we entered. Each child was eager to participate, and when we asked, we were told that yes, these were for everybody. Tickets for all these neat events would be given when registration and payment were made. And if reminders were necessary that year, they are not recalled. What an amazing, peaceful, fun-loving family. In 1972, Netta Brown led the children in a patriotic parade around the camp. Nearly every child carried a flag, and Netta played the drum as they marched. The grand finale was when the children all sang the national anthem. Other spontaneous but continuing activities of the children have included playing at the pond and finding snakes. We've tried to catch and tame horned toads, chipmunks, and rabbits. Critters live and dead are a source of fascination. Do you remember some of the children gathering ladybugs from the top of Trigo? What child doesn't enjoy climbing a tree? Or building a fort? Having a water fight? Or playing on the old half-track? A tug-of-war was held this year between Arizona Cousins and all the others. Each side had a turn winning, as it was held twice. In 1974, an article was published in the White Mountain Independent. It was entitled, "Family Dedicates Monument to Virgil and Farr Whiting." Art Whiting spoke at this service. He said, "I didn't think we would ever have a Whiting reunion after they left, because they worked so hard to make the reunions possible. But in our family, we have adopted a slogan from the Army called closing up ranks, and we knew that we had to go on." The front plaque reads, "Brothers, in loving memory of Virgil and Farr Whiting." Not, how did he die, but how did he live? Not, what did he gain, but what did he give? These are the units to measure the worth of a man as a man, regardless of birth. (1978) announced the first biannual Sierra Trigo Run, or marathon race. This race was inspired by Bruce Whiting. Remember the first traditional t-shirts the participants wore for this? "9 a.m. seemed to come with a rush on the morning of the race, as practiced joggers lined up for the Sierra Trigo Run, which began at the Cultural Hall, proceeded through the camp, and on around along the foot of Sierra Trigo, and then finally back to the Cultural Hall, a distance of about 2 miles. There were many winners because there were a lot of categories. Between 50 and 80 participants were awarded certificates for completing the race. Runners' hopes of winning were dashed to pieces when Rosie Ruiz came from nowhere and sprinted across the finish line first. And everyone was astounded at the remarkable resemblance between Mickey Whiting and Rosie. An activity enjoyed and embraced by the younger set some years was the Junior Olympics. There were a variety of events and active participation from every age group. Many interested parents participated plus a large audience of onlookers. Certainly the enthusiasm of parents and others contributed to the success of this event. In other years, the children took part in rodeos and assorted races. We have always been made to feel wanted and special when we're at the homestead, from the very youngest to the oldest. Aunt Martha, Aunt Elda, and Aunt Min were each interviewed during an evening program. One of the most remembered and united messages from these three dear sisters were their feelings of love and concern for the so-called younger generation. In 1992, the large modern bathhouse was completed. Also in '92, a multi-purpose cement floor with 3 garage doors opening out to it was extended from the recreation hall. And Uncle Ralph's original house was modified into a large kitchen. An incredibly beautiful family history quilt was made by Joyce Packard and raffled off. $1,500 was raised from this ambitious venture. The artwork from the original family history quilt has been replicated on this exquisite throw and is available at this reunion. Another interesting quilt, which was made for Jay Whiting, displays the t-shirts from past reunions. 1994 brought great new and improved athletic facilities. 2 new sand volleyball courts, a basketball court, 7 new horseshoe pits, a frisbee golf course, and a children's play area were added. This monumental project was headed by Merwin Grant. The enlarged and improved children's play area seemed to be much more popular than the children's pen, which Uncle Ralph built 50 years ago. Remember the pen? Uncle Ralph felt a pen should be built to contain and entertain the youngest of the family. When he was building it, the children gathered around him, making hammering and sawing a real challenge. And when the pen was completed, Uncle Ralph went out and all the children followed. And no one remembers ever seeing another child in the pen. Maybe if they'd called it something else. During the 90s, Uncle Ernest's family contributed the flagpole. Drinking fountains, new swings, and, of course, the fire ring. These improvements were headed by Jay Whiting and Dallas Peterson. Janice Cooper Falls triumphed over the challenge of finding new ways to introduce hundreds of teenagers to each other in a short amount of time. Through games such as Name Your Cousin and Name Your Family Tree, teenagers were not only introduced, but became fast friends. 1994 presented the first annual pageant, The Closest Place on Earth. This pageant was first conceived by Jay Whiting while he was at the homestead the summer before. He collected a lot of material and laid out the scenes. Joyce L. Cooper did a rewrite, and then it was turned over to the pageant committee, headed by Steve and Dee Dee Abaroa, who did another rewrite. Original songs were composed by Julie Peterson, Dee Dee Abaroa, and Jay Simper. The script and songs were pre-recorded, and it was then performed on a great outdoor stage. Constructed by Jay Whiting and his crew. The pageant told the story of how Edwin and Mariah homesteaded the property, and of the legacy they left to their posterity. And what a legacy they've left. One family member recalls a repeated statement made by her father, Virgil B. Whiting, which he probably heard from his father, E.I. Virgil said, "I am trying to build so that I can leave something for my family to build with." This sentiment seems to be shared not only by Virgil, but all the hard-working leaders who have followed in his footsteps. Some have shouldered finances, others have given their love and hard work. All have developed a vision of the gospel, the importance of family, reunion, and our sacred homestead. "1998 sees the addition of many improvements. The roads have been bladed and cindered, tables repainted white. Outhouses are patched. A new water system is operating. A permanent stage erected. The children's play area has also been enlarged and improved. The dry lake is now filled. The pond cleaner. A bridge now stands over the ditch. And ongoing repairs and improvements continue to be made. To those responsible for this year's improvements, we offer our praise, our heartfelt thanks, and deepest gratitude. This year's contributors include, and by the way, would you please stand as I call your names and remain standing until all names have been read? Jay Whiting and his family, Jack Brown and his family, Mickey Whiting, Merwin Grant, and especially Dan and Joyce Packard. You have captured the very living spirit of this great homestead. You were the bearers of the standard passed down by Edwin Marion himself. You represent the best of what these reunions and this homestead mean to all of us, and we wish to recognize you for your time, energy, your financial contributions, and all else you do and have done. Thank you. Expressing gratitude to those who have come before, whose labors have paved our way, and who have shown their undying and unwavering love for us, seems quite impossible. Indeed, how can we adequately say thanks to them? They wanted so much for us, for our success and happiness, our ongoing involvement here with each other as members of this grand family. And they wanted us to be strong in our faith, to live righteous lives, and to follow the example and admonitions of our Savior, and, ultimately, to be worthy of returning to our eternal Father in heaven and to be with Him and all of our beloved family forever. They wanted for us stronger minds and bodies and hearts, which would be reflected in our actions, actions like those of our family we've paid tribute to here tonight. Let us honor our heritage and render our gratitude as we build upon those things we've been given to build with. Let us work hard to preserve our great traditions and beliefs, not only for those who are here present, but for all those who will surely follow. Enjoy this reunion. Love your cousins, get to know your kin. Feel the spirit that is our beloved and sacred Whiting homestead.